it was my grandfather's mother who was Armenian. So my great-grandmother on my mother's father's mother was Armenian. And I don't know exactly where he was born, but he was in Egypt, met my mother's mother, my grandmother, who was an Egyptian woman. And then they had 4 kids in Egypt, and then came to Australia in the 60s.
Oh.
And my mum was born as they landed. So she was conceived overseas, but as they landed, they were still in the immigrant processing centre.
What?
Yeah, still in the immigrant processing centre when she was born. Yeah. Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, what a great story.
So we're proper immigrants. And imagine that, like, coming halfway around the world on a boat with nothing.
On the boat, that must have took like a month.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, next to nothing. And then, and my dad came on a boat as well from England. So he was one of the, I think they're called like 10-pound poms, where basically they, it was like you can immigrate to Australia pretty much for free. So his family came on a boat. He was 6 years old. So they were both immigrants, basically.
So it's like chasing the American dream in Australia.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you're like first generation immigrants.
Yep.
I thought you were like second.
Oh. That's one of the reasons why I work so hard, because immigrants have nothing. And they need to work their fucking asses off to make it in the country that they land in. And that's
because
what
they left everything behind.
Well, here's the interesting thing about why immigrants make great entrepreneurs. Because immigrants who have come from nothing have nothing to lose. They've experienced nothing. What's the worst that can happen as an entrepreneur? You fail and you go back to zero. Yeah, sure, maybe you go less than zero, but that's fine. It's still zero. You just build it back up again. I know what zero feels like. So, and it's not uncomfortable for me because I still survived at zero. And everything else is a bonus above zero. So that perspective makes it really easy to approach failure. Second one is, immigrants know how to work. Because you're working from zero up, you've got to fucking work your ass off. And so that work ethic, even when you have resources, if you still work that hard, once you have resources, there's a certain fire and intensity of that level of work that, when you're integrated, can be deployed as necessary, not necessarily 24/7, but deployed as necessary. That means I can outwork anyone else. I can just outwork them. And Gary Vee talks a lot about this.
Yes.
Like, I'll outwork you. And like, I think is, in some ways, like, probably glorifying workaholism over work. So, and I don't agree with that. But if I need to work a 16 or a 20-hour day, which is very, very rare for me, I can happily do that. If every now and again, very, very rare, I might do 6 hours of meetings back to back. Absolutely doable for me. I'm just like, okay, cool. I go into intensity mode. Now, I think I'm fairly integrated. Either side of that, I'll sleep well, I'll eat well, I'll rest well, I'll recover well, I'll have downtime. The last 2 days we've just rested because I had 3 presentations this week. We've just rested. Today I was lying on the couch. I'm like, yep, I could get up, I could go to the gym. My body's saying to me I need rest. Listen to the body, continue to rest. But that, someone else who doesn't have an embodied experience of what that level of work intensity is like, can't compete. Can you cultivate that? Yeah, probably. And it might require signing up to the defense forces, or it might require going through a really intense experience like a divorce, or it might require reaching the peak of your fitness or some kind of physical challenge to find what intense work and intense output actually is.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. Fucking hell.